Hi, my name is Christy from Moonphase Geckos, and I'm here to talk to you about plants to use in a terrarium. Okay, so I've had lots of people message me and ask me about the things that I put in my terrariums. I get asked what plants are best, where can they find them, if they're safe, and how to create height. So I'm going to talk about all that stuff today, hopefully, and help you build the best terrarium for your crested gecko. So today I'm going to talk about all kinds of plants, but first we're going to start with our plants that are usually lower to the bottom that give us some foliage on the bottom of the terrarium. I use quite a few plants. I get them from Home Depot, and a lot of people worry about getting plants from places like that. My best solution for something of that nature is to, when you get the plant, you want to completely take it out, get all of this soil off that is here on the bottom until you have bare roots. Then you can plant it in substrate and let it quarantine that way, or you can plant it in your terrarium and have your terrarium quarantine for a while. I usually will plant these and then let them quarantine in their containers. So the kind of plants that I use are a brand called Exotic Angel plants. These do come from Home Depot, and they have, so it's really neat, they have little people call me names that are a little easier, and then they have their actual scientific names on here. So if you were looking to find out if a plant was safe for your crested gecko, you would want to use the scientific name here. I usually just look them up and make sure that they're safe, that they can hold up well in humidity, and what type of light they need. If they need high light or anything of that nature, you're really not going to get a lot of really good high light in one of these, and the geckos don't like it either, so go with the low or medium light units. This one is for a friendship plant. Friendship plants are really, really neat. They have great texture. They also are going to grow up nice and tall, and then they're going to create vines. So if you were trying to find a plant to put up in the background of your terrarium to add some height or maybe some vines so that the geckos have somewhere to hide, this would be a great one for that. I use this one in just about every terrarium that I do. It has the dark green leaves with the white veins through it, and there's also the ones with the pink veins. I've used them separately, and I've also used them together. This one is called a combo, so it has both. I also like, this one is called a begonia, and I really like these. They have great color, the leaves get nice and big. They also have great places that my little geckos like to go. They like to go inside of these leaves, and the leaves are big enough too that some of my leaf dwellers will sleep on top of the leaves. Another really popular plant that a lot of people have and a lot of people talk about is pathos. This is a golden pathos. It's actually quite small for a pathos. I've seen smaller, but pathos is probably the best plant for you if you have a black thumb. This thing is hard to kill, but it grows very, very well in high humidity, and it does really, really well in all lights. So while you may not have a hard time keeping it alive, the only thing you really need to worry about with these is that they grow monster big. So like I have a medium-sized pathos. I have pathos all in my house. I love these plants, but they do get quite large. So this is one of my large pathos plants. You can kind of see that they vine. They get very big and very full. So just be prepared if you get pathos to be able to trim it and make sure that you're doing upkeep. It's very important to remember that this is a living environment for your gecko. So the entire thing is its very own ecosystem. So it's important to remember that these are not going to stay the same size. These plants are going to grow, and if you do well, they're going to thrive, and you're going to have to learn to trim them back and make sure that you're taking care of them properly. So a lot of people ask me about height in the terrariums because a lot of times when you start one out, those plants are very small at the bottom of the tank. So we want to look at plants that will add height to our terrariums. One of my favorites is the money tree. This money tree is actually it's like a medium size one, but you can see it has a very strong base. And then even our green bits here at the top towards the canopy of this tree are very strong. So even my bigger geckos, 30 and 40 grams, are able to get on these without them bending or pulling down, and they don't tend to fall out. So they really like these. I also like that it kind of gives you an open middle, so you can put smaller plants in front to kind of fill it out. But I also like to use spider wood. kind of in front of it to give a lot of climbing space for the geckos. And then of course the canopy itself gives a lot of room for them to hide and a lot of places for them to kind of climb. Another one of the plants that I use for height is this guy. This is a rubber fig tree. It's quite big. I'm going to come a little closer so you can see how thick these pieces are. They are great for our heavier geckos and any bigger reptile that you can use in a very humid environment. So I really like these for my cresties. They don't bend, they don't break. They're very, very sturdy, hardy plants. So you don't tend to have any issues with them crawling up and falling down. These I got from a local nursery. There were about 8 of them in a pot. So I broke them apart, got them down to bare root, and planted them in substrate. So they have been quarantined for about 2 weeks and are ready to go into a terrarium with some crested geckos. Another really cool thing is that these leaves are very thick. And so a lot of my cresties that really like to hang out on leaves, they will get on the leaves and sleep here. So this is one of those big spots for sleeping. Always remember that it's important to have plenty of places for your crestie to hide, and lots of foliage can really give you a lot of great places. While these all are great plants, you also have to remember that light is important. So I know that a lot of people debate about light in crested gecko tanks. The only thing that I use is a very low wattage UVB bulb, and this just makes sure that the plants get what they need without emitting any heat. Oh, I almost dropped that. Without emitting any heat, so that they can continue to get what they need to thrive and the geckos don't get too hot. Okay, so always remember that it's important to quarantine your plants and to quarantine your geckos. When you get them, I wouldn't want you to go out and buy all these plants and make a terrarium and just throw a gecko in it. So it's important to make sure that we're going down to bare root, we're giving the plants time to quarantine. If that's not something that you're able to do, there are online people that you can order these plants from, so you don't have to have a quarantine period. The plants are much smaller, so be prepared for that. One of my favorite things about being able to go and buy my plants myself is that I can see the condition of the plant. I can take the plant out and look at the condition of the roots, but I also can make sure that the size is right for the terrarium that I'm using. I obviously would never put a plant this big in the base of a 12 by 12 by 18, but in my 18 by 18 by 24, it does really great for ground coverage. So always remember that if you're doing a bioactive enclosure and you're using live plants, we want to make sure our humidity and temperature is correct. We also want to make sure that our geckos have plenty of places to climb and hide, and that they have a nice variation of plants in their terrariums. Hopefully this has been super helpful. I'll answer any questions you have in the comments, so make sure you do that. Make sure you like our page and subscribe, and we'll put out more videos. Thanks.